Yeah, so a lot of times people ask, what is it like to be pregnant at 14? What was it like to walk the halls in high school and being pregnant and having people judge you? And I guess it's kind of the only thing that I have to compare to. I mean, it's all that I know. It's definitely, there's lots of stories there. It's kind of like though when you ask somebody who had twins, like, oh my gosh, how did you make it? They just decide to make it. And yes, there was a lot of hardships and struggles, but you start to realize that you have two options, one road that you could travel, and that is you choose to just accept responsibility and roll with it, or you choose to run away from your problems. You run away from challenges. And I remember walking through the halls of the high school that I went to, and eventually it became apparent that it wasn't just a big lunch that I ate, but rather there was a baby in there. And then as I got bigger and bigger, I realized how cruel people can be to you, how judgmental they can be. And I, of course, I went home many days crying after school and just thinking like, why are people like this? I know that there's a lot of people that I went to school with that made the same choices that I made. But either A, they didn't get pregnant, or B, they went down a different path. And because I decided to have courage, because I decided that I wanted to make changes from maybe irresponsible choices that I had made, why are you judging me because of that? And I think too often, it's like we're so afraid of people judging us. We're so afraid of how people perceive us that you finally get to a point in your life where you have to be okay with being misunderstood. You have to be okay with knowing that not everybody's going to agree with you. Not everybody's going to understand you, and they don't need to. We have to be rooted enough to know why we do what we do so that people don't move us like the wind. And that was one of the biggest things that I struggled with. I just had so much fear, and I realized what fear really is it's focusing on ourselves. It's taking our eyes off of other things and other causes and other visions and putting it back on ourselves, which is just so selfish. And yes, I was afraid. Yes, I was scared. But I also felt this calling that I needed to make changes in my life. I remember when Pete and I went to see my pediatrician, which, by the way, you probably shouldn't be seeing your pediatrician to find out that you're pregnant, but that's just where we were at. Pete drove me to, the doctors, and there was my pediatrician with these eyes of disappointment to tell me that I was pregnant after I took the test. And I remember the conversation that Pete and I had on the car ride home. And there was no question in my mind I was keeping this baby. Why? Because I'm just going to choose to be responsible, even though I'm totally afraid and totally scared. And I think so many times we face opportunities in our life to grow, to go to that next level, to move on, and to choose to have courage. It's okay to be afraid, but do it afraid anyways. Do it anyways. And I think that's where sometimes we choose to just tap out. We choose to step back. We choose to avoid responsibility. And some of us have had example after example of what was modeled for us in our childhood, of when you face resistance, when you face something you're uncomfortable with or you're afraid of, you just leave, you just run, you just go out the door. And yeah, maybe there were some examples like that in my life, but I don't know why I chose to go a different path. I just know that I wanted to create change. And I think that the faster we're willing to face that and just make those choices, the faster we embrace change, the stronger we get. Because then we start to develop patterns of this new identity of who we're becoming, not our old self.